Good morning, students. Myself, Dr. Vijender Singh Tawar, Associate Professor in English. Presently, I have been posted at Government College, Guda. In the series of video lectures, which is being prepared by me for the students of English literature, today's video is meant for the students of English literature of the class BA part first, paper first, and the topic on which we are having discussion today is Andrew Marvell's famous poem To His Choir Mistress. And in this video, we will analyze the poem from its critically, we can say we will do critical appreciation of the poem in this video. As usual, something about the poet. Andrew Marvell was born in 1621 and died in 1678. That is during the period in which England had a very great change. That is in 1648, from 1648 to 1660, there had been Commonwealth or Cromwell's rule. And during that, our famous poet John Milton cited the Cromwell, and he was in the ruling party. But after 1660, he was arrested and he was sent or put into prison. So we can say Andrew Marvell, who was a colleague and friend of John Milton, had seen everything. Moreover, he was also influenced by John Donne. So we will see that he is a metaphysical poet also. Means he was a friend and colleague of John Milton. He was not impressed by John Milton, but he was impressed by John Donne, who was a great metaphysical poet. Besides being a metaphysical poet, he has been analyzed or seen as a satirist and as a good lyricist in his poems. He has presented the material of his poems in a very impressive manner, with a great charm and grace. So we can say he was one of the greatest poet of England. The tone of his poems is bright, tolerant, civilized. He did not try to impose anything on anybody. He presents what he feels in a democratic manner, you can say. Now let us come to the poem. The poem, Andrew Marvell's poem To His Choir Mistress, is a very popular poem in English language, and it is prescribed in almost all the universities of the world. It is a carpe diem poem. Let me explain what is the meaning of this carpe diem. Carpe diem is a Latin word. It is a Latin phrase. It was first used by Horace, a famous Latin poet. It means pluck the day. Means if you have something before you, you should make use of it. You should seize the opportunity. You should not postpone anything. You should enjoy at the present. And through which the speaker, who may be the poet himself, attempts in this poem, the situation is that there is a lover and a beloved. Lover wants to have physical relationship with the beloved, but the beloved is shy, she is coy, and she is unwilling because she has her own ideology. She is a Puritan in thinking. The lover is trying to convince her that they should enjoy when they are young and beautiful at the present. Otherwise, they will be great loser. This is the, you can say, subject matter or theme of the poem. The poem is written in the form of the style of construction of a poem named syllogism, including 3 sections. In syllogism, there are always 3 sections of a poem. The first begins with if. If means what they have done if they had this or that, anything. Means, but means the reality. The speaker presents the reality is this, not the imaginary thing. And therefore means that they should take decision. In this poem, the speaker raises the argument with his beloved to be soft towards him and to relax her from firm attitude of Puritan reluctance to grant him sexual favor. Means the beloved who is not interested or who is not allowing the lover to have a relationship, the lover tries or persuades her to grant him sexual favor. Thus, the theme of the poem is carpe diem, meaning carpe diem, as I have told you, means seize the opportunity. Means if you have anything at the present, you must use it. The poem is divided into 3 stanzas, the first of which is devoted to establishing the problem of the speaker perceives. The problem is the beloved is not ready, and flattering his mistress, and he says if they had enough space and time, he would have done this and that, but he flattered her also. In the second and third stanza, the speaker emphasizes the urgency of the matter and calls his mistress to action, that she should indulge with him in action. Now the theme, or we can say how the idea in the poem has been developed by the poet. To his coy mistress, which is a love poem, it celebrates beauty, youth and sexual pleasure. It gives importance to beauty, youth and sexual pleasure. Says that they are valuable when they have vitality, energy. Otherwise, these youth, beauty, sexual, these things will be of no use after death. However, the speaker of the poem is haunted by mortality. He is also aware of that the life is short-lived. They will die very soon. That is, the poem also focuses on the lustful desires of a man attempting to entice a female virgin, the mistress or beloved, whatever, into sexual intimacy. That the lover is trying to convince the beloved that she should indulge with him in sexual intimacy. The poem is written in the metaphysical style, wherein the quality of coyness, that is shyness, is described as a luxury meant for those lovers who have ample time. Means the coyness, which is regarded as a good quality nowadays also, and in the Victorian and Puritan call also, that the beloved should shy. But here the thing has been reversed. The poet says it is a luxury for only those lovers who had enough time, not for normal lover. There is in this disregard for coyness. Means he regard it as a negative quality, is not a very attractive or good quality in a beloved. A reversal of the courtly tradition. Means the thing has been just the opposite, which was believed in Petrarchan poetry, that the beloved should be shy. We note 3 steps in the development of thought of the poem. The first is the lover telling the beloved what he would do if they had world enough and time. The situation is, as I told you, syllogism. The first part of the poem says that if they had enough time, enough space, they would have done this thing or that thing, etc., which is described by the poet in detail. We will read in the first section. That is, this form the first part of the poem. Then thinking of the stern reality of time's winged chariot hurrying near. Then the poet realizes, or the lover realizes, the reality. He feels the time is passing very fast, and in no time they will be overtaken by time, that is, they will die. Finally, he reaches the conclusion that the lover and the beloved should use their vitality, energy, to enjoy the present moment of passion. And so they should, means the reality should be kept in mind, and both the lover and beloved should enjoy the present moment of passion. In other words, the lover argues out the case for instant gratification of love and lust in three marked steps. The lover is advocating for a decision, for a case. The case is that he should be allowed to have physical relationship with his beloved, and the judge is beloved. The beloved is presented with the fact so that she should allow the lover to have physical relationship. Now, in what is, let us, this is the detail in the first section. That is, if we can say, the lover takes up the supposition of unreality for the sake of the apparently shy beloved. Supposition, he imagines a situation when they had thousands and millions of years of life and young age. In that case, the supposition is conditional. What they might do if they had enough time and space. They have thousands millions of years of life and young age. Then he and his beloved could go as far as the Ganges and the Humber. Both the rivers, one is in the India, another is North England. Means then he could bear her undue shyness without any trouble. He would then start making love to her 10 years before the flood. Flood means delays, that is day of judgment, the last day of life on the earth. He would have waited till then. And she could very well refuse his love till the day of judgment. She, because they had enough time, so she could have, that would not have created any trouble for the lover. By that time, his love would have grown vaster than empires. Here the poet compares his love with vegetable love. Just as vegetable grow very slowly and slowly, in the same way the poet says, or the lover says, his love would have grown slowly and slowly, bigger and bigger, and it would have acquired a size which can be said vaster than the great empires. Then he would have spent from hundred of years to an age at least to praise each part of the body of the beloved. In that case, he would have devoted, that is Petrarchan philosophy, would have praised each part of the body of the beloved and would have devoted at least 100 years to an age. Now the second, as I told you, that was the supposition, unreal supposition. Now the reality. The lover rejects the supposition because that is unreal. He comes face to face with the horrifying reality of human situation, that in no time we will die and we will go into the graves. He is aware of the reality of time, which engulfs everything: beauty, youth, virginity, honor, and love itself. He tells her that in no time, time will take over and all things are of no value before time. Now the third section. So what should they do? What conclusion should they draw, keeping all these things in view? He says, the lover reminds his beloved that the time is passing fast and soon they have to face the deserts of vast eternity, since they will be buried in the grave and they remain forever. The horrifying reality of human situation inspires the lover to be more flushed. He resolves to take a decision that because of the gravity of human situation, they must love now. When they have the vitality to enjoy love and sex in life. If they have energy, they are young, they should enjoy it. That is the only way to conquer the impersonal force of time in the context of human life. Then only we can do some kind of negligence regarding the impact of time. Otherwise, time will devour us. Now, this is the, you can say, development of thought, how the idea has been developed in this poem. Now, as we are doing its critical appreciation, so what are the important aspects of the poem? Let us discuss critical comments, you can say. The first is dramatic monologue. As I told you, dramatic monologue is a technique in which the poet composes a poem in which there is a one speaker and the listener can be one and more than one. Only speaker speaks and other listens. They do not interfere into the speech of the speaker. Now see how Andrew Marvell has used this technique in this poem. The poem is an excellent illustration of Marvell's use of dramatic monologue. The speaker is obviously the lover in the poem, and the listener is the side beloved. One speaker, one listener. The dramatic element of Elizabethan verse is thus put to good metaphysical use in the poem. It has been used in a remarkable manner. However, the poem does not have the psychological interest and insight which are so characteristics of Browning's monologue. Robert Browning's monologues have special qualities, they have psychological interest. There, the Browning lay bare the soul of his character, but here we do not see that kind of feature in these poems. The second is originality. The poet does not repeat the trite, that is stale theme of Enjoy Today. He gives the traditional theme a new aspect. The Petrarchan strain of fantastic praise of the beauty of the beloved ultimately takes an anti-Petrarchan turn in the poem. Means when the poet uses hyperbole that he will devote 100 years to praise her forehead and eyes, 100 years to praise her breast, like that. In the end, he says that all these things which he have praised, they are of no value. They will be eaten up by worm in the grave. Syllogistic structure, that is if, but, and therefore. The poem is written in the form of what is known as a syllogism. A syllogism means an argument developed in a strictly logical form and leading to a definite conclusion. A syllogistic argument consists of these stages, and each stage begins with three words: if, but, and therefore. In this poem, we find three clearly marked sections. The first section as I told you, begins with if. What is the meaning of if? What is the meaning of if? Means if they had enough time and space, that is enough things, what they would have done. But the reality, and therefore that they should take a decision. The first section begins, had we but enough time and space. The first word of this sentence, had, conveys the sense of if. It's if they had. If, and the sentence means if we had enough only space and time at our disposal. The second section of the poem begins with but at my back I always hear. It shows the stark reality. And the third section begins with therefore, now therefore, while the youthful hue. Thus the poem states a condition in the first section. In the second section, the reason why this condition cannot be fulfilled have been given, and finally the arguments end in a conclusion. And the conclusion of the poem is that the lover should lose no time in enjoying the pleasure of love. The conclusion that Marvell draws in the poem justifies the carpe diem. Carpe diem theme that one should seize the opportunity when offered without losing the present. The idea is the poet has been able to present his idea in a very impressive manner using the carpe diem theme. Now, the another quality or feature of this poem is the metaphysical conceits and wit. The poem abounds in, is filled with a number of fine concrete pictures and a series of metaphysical conceits. There have been used by metaphysical conceits. Marvel first gives us a fantastic picture. If the lover had enough time and space at their disposal, they would be able to wander as far as apart as the Indian Ganges and the English Humber. Means the beloved would have gone to India and he would have gone to North England. Next, the metaphysical wit is found in the following lines. The lover would love his mistress from a time 10 years before the great flood. Later, day of judgment, doomsday, last day of the life of the earth, we can say. Would spend hundreds and thousands of years in admiring and adoring the different parts of her body. This is also a conceit. The passing of time's winged chariot hurrying and coming closer to overtake the lover presents an image of a vehicle from our mind's eyes. It appears as if there's some vehicle is following us and it will very soon overtake us. But using a metaphor, the poet has turned an abstract idea of passing time into a vivid picture. Means time is abstract, we cannot see and we cannot touch. But when we say that time is behind and is soon overtake us, it appears it is having a concrete picture. Another metaphysical conceit is presented in the picture of the woman lying in the grave where the worms will consume her long preserved virginity. That after death she will be buried and there will be no use of her virginity. She will be eaten up by worms. Thus the worms are shown to have the power of seducing a woman. In the last line, the poet speaks of rolling all their strength into one ball and enjoying their pleasures with rough stride through the iron gates of life. This is surely a fine example of metaphysical wit which enriches the poem. Now see, let us roll all our strength, collect all our strength, all our sweetness up into one ball and tear our pleasure, that is snatch our pleasure with rough stride through the iron gates of life. Now, in conclusion, it has already been mentioned that the poet builds a fine case in the poem. It appears that poet is an advocate and is advocating or pleading a case, and he has built up his case in a very impressive manner. In fact, the entire poem is characterized by metaphysical wit, and a streak of irony runs through the poem. Irony is everywhere in this poem. The lady's coyness has been mocked, this shyness has been made fun of, and as the lover proposes to spend thousands of years in praising her physical beauty. Because the lover also says that he will spend 100 years to praise her forehead, etc., eyes. Some critics have charged Marvel with the lack of passion in his love poems. But here in this poem, passion is allowed to take its natural path. That as a love poem, it is unique, and that for sheer power, it ranks higher than anything Marvel ever wrote. To Hitchcock, Mistress has the strength and passion of John Donne's without his obscurity, and bad taste run easily and harmoniously. When we analyze John Donne's poem, we find something obscure and unclear, but here there is nothing like that. It is very easy, smooth, and it is understood without any difficulty. This poem of Marvel is the masterpiece of metaphysical poetry in this genre. This style, it is masterpiece. It also shows a return to the anachronistic theme. Anachronistic was a Greek poet who used to write such kind of poems. It appears that we have again come into the Greek period. It is repeated with a new intensity and comes from a heart truly deep and passionate. What the poet has presented, it appears that his heart is filled with true love and he is expressing his passion. And the love which is demanded is silent and forceful, very, very effective. The poet has presented everything in a very impressive manner, or in a what he has achieved his purpose in a masterly manner. Thank you very much.